Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio with me, Nick, giving you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. We're talking about all these amazing stuff that is happening across the world and, very concerning things that is happening. And, for once, we're going to be talking about things pertinent to what is going on with the UK free trade deal with Australia. Yeah, that's right. That's something that we're going to be talking about as we go along in the show. And the other thing that we are going to be talking about is how the border control issues in Northern Ireland is, and how the main topic though at hand is how Priti Patel denies number 10 pursued herd immunity policy. Yeah, that's right. That is the things that we're going to be talking about right here at Relax Radio. In case you're wondering who this is, my name is Nick, and I'm keeping you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. You guys can always feel free to hit me up on those numbers. It is 07852 473 473. Those are the magic numbers. That's right. You can always feel free to call me up. And in case you guys are wondering, we're also on social media. You can check us out on Facebook and on WhatsApp. And also you can check us out on Instagram as well. We're pretty big on Twitter. We are also available in Twitch as well. So check us out on those platforms. And with that being said, diving right into it, the matter at hand right now, Priti Patel is saying all these things about how the government has denied, pursuing essentially herd immunity. Yeah, Home Secretary Priti Patel has denied the claims the government pursued a herd immunity policy early in the pandemic. And the Prime Minister's ex-aide, Dominic Cummings, also said something with regards. He said in his tweets that the UK original plan was to let the virus spread through the population, achieving so-called herd immunity. But Mr. Cummings said number 10 later realized it would be a catastrophe. That's right. It's going to cause some major issues. It's going to be a real big problem. Yeah, and this is something that I'm glad that they did foresee, because think about it. You're waiting until the whole country gets infected, and essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to get everyone infected, and then the chances of people dying, all the more the mortality rate in the country is going to increase because of that. And that's just something that is really not so smart on the government side. But for them to not do it is a great thing that they didn't really go through with that. So the UK Health Secretary Agency chief said allowing people to become infected has never been on the agenda. That's what the UK Health Agency, Security Agency told. But Dr. Jenny Harries said that she's never been at a government meeting where herd immunity was put forward as a mechanism of control for the pandemic. And, she went on to say, bear in mind, I would not have been in the most of high level ones as Deputy Chief Medical Officer. And, asked about what by Andrew Marr, whether herd immunity has been the government's policy at the beginning of the COVID pandemic before a vaccine was created, Ms. Patel replied, absolutely not. She said she would not comment on what Mr. Cummings would say ahead of his appearance in front of a parliamentary committee this week, but added, our strategy was always about public health, saving lives, and protecting the NHS. And also speaking to Andrew Marr, Dr. Harris said that the term herd immunity had been misinterpreted. So that's what happened. And she went on to say, that a lot of these differences between the widespread immunity achieved through vaccination and herd immunity produced by allowing the public to catch the virus naturally. I mean, when you come to consider it, if the government went on to talk about these things, there's a lot of, conspiracy theories. People are talking about all these things, but if you really come down to it, this is not what the government has planned. This is not what they want to do. And they've denied all of these things. They've not said anything about getting the whole herd, the whole people, the populace to get infected, because that's just absurd if you think about it. Making sure everyone gets infected and then giving them a vaccine, that is just the craziest and most ludicrous thing that they could even come up with. And she went on to say, though, Dr. Harris said that there was a difference between the widespread immunity achieved through vaccination and herd immunity. So she went on to say that what you're looking at in a population is to try and see at which point your population would be safe. And this is what we need to do with this very successful vaccine program, is what she was trying to address as she was going on. And she also said that there's not the same saying that the same aim would be to allow people to become infected and develop herd immunity. That has never been on the agenda, but what you would always look to see how safe you can get and your population through a vaccination program. So herd immunity is essentially, if you guys are wondering what is this term, I'm not really quite familiar with this word. Well, herd immunity essentially means that it's a term used to describe the most people are immune to a particular disease, and for this case, the coronavirus. And this means that the disease is much less likely to spread from person to person. So those who are not immune are not reduced, are at essentially reduced risk of the illness. So there's also another way. There are more infectious diseases, the greater the number of people that need to be immune in order to reach the threshold. So this is where that threshold is where the unprotected are safe. So the people who don't have this immunity, they will be safe, is what this whole term is about. So there are two ways of achieving herd immunity. The first is through natural progression of the disease, which will cause illness and death as many people become infected. And the second is through a vaccination. And adding to the series of tweets, Mr. Cummings began a week ago. The former number 10 advisor referred to the government's handling of COVID as a disaster, is what he's saying. And on Saturday evening, he said the official plan in all the documents, graphs, and meeting at the outset of the pandemic was to achieve so-called herd immunity by September 2020. And he went on to add, how herd immunity had only been the plan is a fundamental issue in the whole disaster, adding it was only changed after number 10 was made aware that it would lead to catastrophe. So what he's trying to say is he's trying to insinuate the fact that the government's plan was to get everyone in the country infected to reach herd immunity. And this is not a great plan. This is not something that is, in case you guys are wondering, this is to a totally different extent, where if you do something like this, the results are gonna be terrible. It's going to be a catastrophe in the terms of the government. What they're saying, it's going to lead to catastrophe, and that is true. It is going to lead to chaos. There is going to be the mortality rate of the people from getting this disease will increase, and this is just not a very feasible option for him to be insinuating that the government actually planned for something like this is preposterous, in my opinion. It's just a lot of it's crazy. And he went on to say, awful decisions were made and lives and money were needlessly lost. And he kept saying that, he also said that if competent people had been in charge, lockdown may have been avoided. So following Miss Preeti Patel's interview on Sunday morning, she said, he said that herd immunity had not been a secret policy, but official strategy. And he's explained all of this on television, on live television and radio. And he also said that herd immunity had been viewed as unavoidable until the 9th of March, when the government's policy started to shift to Plan B. This is essentially to dodge the whole herd immunity until vaccinations were available. But he continued to tweet on the subject throughout Sunday and ahead of his appearance on Wednesday before the Commons Health and the Science Select Committee, which is considering lessons to be learned from the pandemic. Mr. Cummings was the prime minister's closest political aide. So what he is, in the room when the decisions were being made early in this pandemic. But since parting ways with his boss, last November, he parted ways with Boris Johnson. He had become basically a very huge critic of Mr. Johnson. So early on the pandemic, the government's chief scientific advisor's comments about herd immunity, essentially what it did was it added in a lot of attention, and it attracted a lot of attention. People were dying to know, what is this about? So on the 13th of March 2020, Sir Patrick Vallance has said that the government's aim was essentially to try and reduce the peak, not suppress it completely, also because most people get a mild illness. So this is essentially what it does is it'll build up some kind of degree of herd immunity, and while protecting the most vulnerable of people. So these are the people who are old, who are immune compromised, the young, the old. All of these people are in this category of the most vulnerable. So Sir Patrick went on later to insisted, that herd immunity was not the plan, and that the Department of Health said his comments had been misinterpreted, adding herd immunity is not part of our action plan, but is a natural byproduct of an epidemic. And this is, the matter at hand. When you look at it, this is what is happening right now at this very moment. We are achieving some kind of herd immunity to a degree. I mean, we are getting vaccinated. People are getting vaccinated. So the plan is to reach that threshold. The threshold is essentially where people are gonna be. We're gonna reach that point where everyone's vaccinated, and the people who are not vaccinated will not get the disease, and it'll not spread to them, and it'll avoid spreading to them. And they're gonna be safe. They're gonna be safeguarded from the virus because the chances of transmitting the disease is close to a very low percentage. And this is, another reason what they were trying to stress out when they were stressing out on this particular point. But, as it goes, hopefully the government can make the choices that need to be done. And hopefully we can roll out the vaccine by the time 21st of June arrives, because this is, it's just another month away. It's just here, just close by now. And if everyone does get vaccinated, we can reach that goal. Reaching herd immunity is not going to be something of a myth. It is going to happen if we can get everyone vaccinated, if everyone follows precautions until then, and hopefully everyone tries to, limit as much as social contact as possible for the meantime. I mean, 1.5 months is not a big deal. It's just another 1.5 months where you have to follow some of these things so we can get to a point where we can be immune to all this, so we don't have to worry about another outbreak, another lockdown, another curfew. This is something that that we could do moving forward, is what I'm trying to say. And a lot of these things are supposed to be happening, but let's see what the government has in store, talking about all these things. Hopefully the government can make the decision of coming through with this, with the whole coronavirus issue right now, especially with the whole country, having a fear, right? Like places like Bolton in Greater Manchester and all Glasgow. We have Glasgow as well, where the cases are rising. So if we can reach herd immunity by then, this is just another benefit, another win for the human race. Humanity is going to win, definitely, if we can get everyone vaccinated, if we can get all the people who are struggling right now to get vaccinated. And if once the vaccine rolls out properly, everyone is going to be all right, because we can reach that point. I mean, I'm telling you, if we reach that point where herd immunity is achieved, that we don't have to worry about social distancing. We wouldn't have to worry about sanitizing your hands every single time you go out. We wouldn't have to even worry about the possibility of wearing these masks or anything of the like. So to reach herd immunity, what we got to do is right now we have to follow the precautions. We have to follow the guidelines that the government has outlaid for a lot of people. So make sure you guys follow that. And hopefully by the time June 21st hits, everyone gets vaccinated. We can look to a better, hopefully a time where, we don't have to wear any of these masks and most of the restrictions will be lifted. Let's see how it goes, as only time can tell. And with that, we're going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Relax Radio. This is me, Nick, keeping you guys company and talking about all the things that is happening right now in the UK. And if you're wondering what the show is all about, well, this is real talk, where we're trying to keep it real 100% all day, every day, 365, 24/7. That's right. And yeah, in case you guys want to be part of the show, all you got to do is simple. Hit me up on those numbers 07852 473 473. Those are the magical numbers. And also, you can check us out on our social media platforms. We're pretty big on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And hey, you can always share and subscribe, spread the love, And also, don't forget you can download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. And yeah, with that being said, we're talking about all things that is happening right now in the UK. And one of this is how the farmers are, being are their fears are increasing right now. And right now, the situation is not at its greatest. And if you look at the things that is going on, people are afraid. The farmers are terrified and they're worried what is going to happen. Are they going to lose their jobs? Is this going to affect us a lot? What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the free trade offer that Australia is making right now with the UK. And yeah, the UK has offered terms to Australia, which both countries would phase out taxes on imports over 15 years. That's right. This is just something they're planning to do. They're in talks with this. And a lot of farmers, though, are not quite happy. They are not on board with this whole trade deal. Is what their major concern right now is because of this tariffs. They're going to reduce the number of tariffs, especially when it comes to imports of meat and agriculture. And people are worried. Farmers are very, very worried about it. So the cabinet was reportedly split. And yeah, even the cabinet has not been 100% on board with it because even they are not quite sure. They're split on what terms to propose amid the concerns of UK's beef and lamb farmers could be undercut by larger Australian producers. But the dispute was apparently resolved after Boris Johnson pushed for unity, is what they are saying. But and all this, International Trade Secretary Liz Truss formally made the UK offer to her Australian counterpart on Friday. So yeah, if accepted, it would also lead to quotas, limits on a tax-free trade between the two countries that it has to be phased out. So the National Farmers Union, the NFU, has warned that freeing up the UK's Australian trade in meat will lead to hundreds of British cows and sheep breeders. All of them are going to go out of business, is what they're saying in layman's terms. All of them are going to lose their jobs. So ministers are keen to strike as many trade deals as possible following Brexit, and Miss Truss wants one piece, and she wants one in place, with Australia by the time the UK hosts the G7 summit of leading economies in June. And yeah, she just want to get Australia on board with this. And if you look at it, she had reportedly said, she'd been on odds with the Environmental Secretary George Eustace over the possible impacts on farmers of removing import taxes and called tariffs that are, normally paid to the government. And with these differences seemingly resolved, though, at the Downing Street meeting chaired by the Prime Minister on Thursday, Ms. Truss put the UK's terms for a deal to Australian counterpart Dan Tehan at an online meeting on Friday. So speaking on a visit to Portsmouth, Mr. Johnson went on to say, we were certainly looking at doing free trade deals around the world. And they are, present a fantastic opportunity to our farmers, for businesses of all kinds, for our manufacturers. And we should see all of these openings not as threats, but as opportunities. So Mr. Chihan also, he said he was very confident of reaching an agreement with the UK by early June, having had very positive discussions with Mrs. Truss. This is what a lot of these sources have been saying about. So back in 2019 rather, and 2020, trade in goods and services between Australia and the UK was valued at 20.1 billion pounds. And both sides are hoping to expand this amount considerably. So what they want to do is they want to reach that gain where, we right now the profits we're making, the revenue, what we are doing, it's valued at just 20.1. They want to increase it even more. And they feel like the trade deals, especially the trade talks between the UK and Australia, is going to achieve that. So currently metals, wines, and machines from the biggest, it compromises the biggest goods exports from Australia to the UK, while Australia's main UK imports are cars, medicines, and alcoholic beverages. So yeah, it's all of these alcoholic drinks. We got cars, medicines, and this is what the UK exports to Australia. And yeah, trade in meat between the two countries is still small, with 0.15% of all Australian beef exports, and it's going to the UK, and 14% of sheep meat imports to the UK coming from Australia. So yeah, the NFU, the president Minetta Bader's, and she said removing tariffs on these products would have a massive impact. And when she says impact, she doesn't mean a good way. And she says it's going to have this massive impact on British farms, and this will be unable, and many of these farms will be unable to compete in terms of scale. Like when it comes to a large scale, Australia has the UK beat. They have more production, and when it comes to production wise, Australia has a way larger production market compared to ours. So when you look at it, this is what's going to happen right now. Australia's vast cattle and sheep stations are going to outmatch the UK's. So she went on to say that we continue to maintain that a tariff-free trade deal with Australia is going to jeopardize us, and it'll hurt our own farms and our industries, and will cause the demise of many, many beef and sheep farms throughout the UK. And this is true whether tariffs are dropped immediately or in the next 15 years, is what she's trying to say. She's saying even if you do it now or you do it in the next 15 years, it's still not going to matter. It's still going to affect our people. We're still going to suffer from this. And, it's just an inevitable kind of death. It's either way, this is what will happen to us. So we have to make a stand now, is what she's trying to say. And the Scottish and Welsh governments have had both urged Mr. Johnson to ensure UK farmers are not left exposed. And Northern Ireland's agriculture minister also went on to say, Edwin Poots, he said he was strongly opposed to ending of these tariffs and quotas. And Conservative MP Neil Parish, the chairman of the Commons Environment and Food and Rural Affairs Committee, said UK farmers would succeed in the beef market by exporting more higher end cuts, such as a sirloin, to Australia. So a Department for International Trade spokesperson said all of these things as well. And they said any deal we sign with Australia will include protections for the agricultural industry and will not undercut the UK farmers or compromise our high standards. And typically any kind of tariff liberation is staged over time with safeguards built in. And we will continue to work with the industry, keeping them involved throughout the process and helping it capture the full benefits of the trade, is what this spokesperson for the Department for International Trade said. But, we have to weigh in. A lot of these people right now, the government has to reassure them. The government has to show them, okay, this is what is going to happen. You don't have anything to fear. You guys, don't worry. We got you. We'll cover you. We'll protect you. You have nothing to be afraid of. You're not going to lose jobs. The farms are not going to, your farms are not going to perish. It's okay. But right now, they don't seem to be confident about it. And, there is rising concern, mounting concern, and people are not quite happy right now. And this is just, another problem. Although, like I said, Australian trade deal, Edwin Poots is strongly opposed to the zero tariff deals as well. And yeah, the Northern Ireland agricultural minister has said he's strongly against this. And he went on to say that the UK reaching a zero tariff, zero quota trade deal with Australia is going to be disastrous for the country, for our economy, for our farmers. So the UK is to offer Australia, what they're trying to do is offer this trade deal under which both countries would phase out of these tariffs within 15 years. So yeah, Edwin Poots went on to say that the deal presents a high level of risk to Northern Ireland and UK farmers. So Mr. Poots, the DUP leader designate, has written to the UK Agriculture Secretary George Eustace about his concerns. So he's written a formal letter saying, okay, this is one of my concerns. These are the concerns of the nation, the country, the people. The country's men are worried about this. What are we going to do to talk about this? So he went on to say, Mr. Poots said, Australia has a number of distinct advantages over Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK in terms of land available for farming, the climate, and lower standards that allows its farmers to be able to produce at a considerably lower cost, particularly when it comes to beef and the sheep sector. So Australian beef and sheep products have the potential to undercut UK producers and to reduce the Northern Ireland's market share in Great Britain, which is their most important market for these kind of products. So this is one of the reasons why this whole trade deal is alarming for a lot of people when it comes to this whole trade deal. Not a lot of people, like I said, are not completely on board with it yet. So this is just another thing, that they are addressing, and they are afraid this is going to affect the economy. And it's just a matter of fact, what is going on. Even Northern Ireland is going to lose something for this. So the challenge for Northern Ireland agri-food culture in UK and Australia free trade agreement is what it could mean for the Great Britain market. So our producers are export focused, and Britain is by far the biggest consumer. And if cheaper Australian beef and lamb were on sale, there is a significant, and if they're going to be available in significant quantities, it could eat into Northern Ireland's market share. And under the tariff rules of Northern Ireland's protocol, Australia produce would not have the same access to the Northern Ireland market. So that would mean most of these consumers in Northern Ireland would not necessarily benefit from these lower prices. So a potential problem for their farmers and no guarantee of benefit for their consumers. Some might even see these as the worst of both worlds. So yeah, this is the rising concern why Mr. Poots is talking about this and why he's so strongly against this particular matter. So Sam Lowe, a trade expert at the Center for European Reform, said this is because of the protocol's rules on tariffs. And he went on to say imports into Northern Ireland can only make use of the UK's trade deals if the difference between the applied UK tariff and the applied EU tariff is less than the value of 3% of the value of the goods. So this is only the time where they can benefit from all of this. And like I said, because the EU tariffs for imports of lots of such food products is so high, the difference between the EU tariff and the UK tariff deal with Australia will be over 3%. So this could mean that Australian exports to Northern Ireland are unlikely to be able to make use of the UK-Australia trade deal. This is what so essentially Northern Ireland is going to be at a loss. They are losing. This is what the facts are stating. They're saying this, we're going to be losing. So what is the point of this whole trade deal if just one particular nation in the United Kingdom is going to benefit from this, is what they're talking about. And they went on to say, the UK can still choose to refund or waive the EU tariff for NI imports, but this ability is constrained by state aid rules. So UK negotiations with Australia are currently ongoing. It's still going on, and they're still in talks. But International Trade Secretary Liz Truss wants a deal in by early June. So Liz Truss is really in a hurry for something like this. She wants this sorted out by the time end of June hits. We are already formulated a deal. So a government spokesperson also said that, a deal with Australia could benefit all the UK, including Northern Ireland. And they went on to say lower tariffs on automotive and pharmaceuticals in particular would boost Northern Ireland's machinery and medicinal businesses, is another thing that they were talking about. And they went on to say that the scoping assessments are static analysis, which do not take account of future Australian or UK growth, and also do not capture the economic and strategic benefits of this deal as a stepping stone to the CPTPP, or in other words, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnerships. So this deal is a trade agreement between 11 Pacific Rim nations, and that is Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam. And it's been in place since 2018 and earlier this year. So the UK became the first non-funding country to apply to join. So this is what, that is going to happen right now. And it's just because of all of these things, all of these matters, Northern Ireland is also not are very afraid when it comes to their farming business. But the UK government is also reassuring them and telling them, okay, listen, although maybe something like this might happen, but you're not going to lose completely, because what is going to happen is that you're going to get benefits when it comes to medicinal purposes, when it comes to pharmaceutical purposes, when it comes to automotive purposes, when you want to get vehicles into the country, into Northern Ireland as well, is what they're saying, the country could benefit from. So what they're trying to address is that they are not looking at the bigger picture. The Northern Ireland officials and the people are not looking at the bigger picture of how much we can gain from all of this. I mean, it's up to you guys to think what, if you guys have any thoughts about this, you can always feel free to hit me up on 07852 473 473. Those are the numbers. But with that being said, we're going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio, RELAKS without the X. And yeah, something we are going to be talking about right now is really, really saddening to see. The Black Lives Activist Matter activist was shot in London. Yeah, just that happened. So the prominent Black Lives Matter activist Sasha Johnson is critically ill after being shot in the head. This is what her party has been disclosing at the moment. She's been shot in the head while doing the rally, and yeah, it's just it's scary, and it's really sad to see something like this happen. And the Taking the Initiatives party said she was being treated in intensive care after being brutally attacked in the early hours of Sunday. So yeah, the 27-year-old was taken to a South London hospital with life-threatening injuries following the shooting on the Consort Road in Peckham, South London. Yeah, this is where the crime of the scene actually happened. And the police said at this stage there was no evidence the attack was targeted. I mean, really, do you really hear yourselves for to be able to say something like that? This is not targeted. I mean, it's an activist who got shot. That's all I gotta say, and that too, a Black Lives Matter activist. So the detectives have added, that there are currently nothing to suggest the shooting victim had received any credible threats against her, and have appealed for witnesses. So they've not confirmed her identity as of yet. So Martin Eiton, a friend of Miss Johnson, said that doctors had carried out surgery on her fellow activist, which had gone well, and she was now with her parents. So she went on to say rather that Miss Johnson had been at a party or gathering. She had been at a party or gathering when she was injured, but she did not believe she was the intended victim. So Miss Aiton went on to say that as far as I am aware, this incident is more related to rival gangs as opposed to her activism. And detectives from METS, the Specialist Crime Command, have been investigating at the scene and the surrounding area and are pursuing a number of lines of inquiry. And it is believed that the shooting happened near a house where a party was taking place, and a number of people may have been there in this area. This is what the Met Police statement said. And yeah, the Taking the Initiative party went on to say that the attack followed numerous death threats. And Det Chep Imsin Jimmy Tesley said this was a shocking incident that has left a young woman with a very serious injury. I mean, she's just 27 years old. She is so much to live for, and for her to be shot like that, and it's just a very terrible ordeal. And he went on to say that their thoughts are with the family and who are providing her with support at this very, very difficult time. And yeah, if anybody saw anything suspicious, is what they're saying, that especially in the Consort Road area in the early hours of Sunday, please report this to the intended police and all. So the tributes on social media have been pouring in, though. A lot of people are across the world have been giving their tributes since the shocking attack on the young mothers. Tamika Mallory, a well-known U.S. activist, posted on her Instagram account also, and she went on to say, pull through, and hashtag Sasha Johnson. And it just shows, that there is a lot of unity as well across the world. When someone is affected, it's always gonna, the world is going to be with you. And this is just, another form of, togetherness. This is the thing what we need right now. What we're trying to do is unity more than division, and diversity more than that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get everyone together. We're trying to form a unity, and for that to, for her to be shot for something like this, and still they still haven't confirmed what the actual thing is, who actually shot her, what is the agenda behind that, why they've actually shot her as of yet. I mean, there are suspicions about it, but you never really know what is going on until all of this, has been decided. And, hopefully this will be investigated as it goes on. And yeah, all of these things, it just shows that this activist also is just another form. It could even be another form of hate crime. We don't even know exactly. The details are not clear as of yet, but we'll see how it goes after she recovers, and hopefully once the inquiry is done. And yeah, getting back to things that is happening right now in the UK, Priti Patel's digital borders will allow us to measure arrivals. Yeah, so the number of people arriving to the UK is just, it's gonna be. This is what their plan is, to get this implemented as soon as practical. So yeah, the new U.S. style electronic border permits will give ministers a clear idea of who is in the country, the Home Secretary has said. So yeah, Priti Patel said a planned electronic travel authorization, the ETA, would allow officials to count people in and count people out as well. And she went on to say, it will be required of all non-British or Irish citizens without a visa or immigration status who come to the UK. But Labour warned of serious questions over delivering the system, is what they are trying to get at right now. And when it comes to this, people they also have their voicing their concerns, and they say that the government says the ETA scheme will be fully placed though in by the end of 2024, with up to 30 million applications expected to be processed each year. So in an online speech on Monday, Ms. Patel said this electronic permits would create a fully digital and more secure UK border. But then of course you got to remember, what with the more we depend on technology, there is also, it does has its issues as well. There are its cons as well when it comes to electronics, when it comes to digital. There's always the chance for higher possibility of invasion of information and data. This is something else that that is also a matter of concern as well. And at the event hosted by the Bright Blue and British Future think tanks, she said the ETA would deliver a greater accuracy on arrival and exit numbers. And we will have a far clear picture of who's here and whether they should be, and we will act when they are not, is what Preeti Patel is saying. So the new electronic permit, she added, would also make it easier to identify potential new threats before they reach the border. And the Home Office says official migration figures, which are based on surveys conducted at airports and ports, have tended to underestimate the true figures. So passengers required to get a permit under the new system would include those traveling to the UK for a short stay or for transiting, changing planes essentially in the country. These are, some of the things they will know: who is coming into the country and who is going out of the country. So we're getting full control and full information on who and what is coming into the country. So people wishing to work in the UK or stay in the country for a long period of time, for example, over 6 months, would need to obtain a visa rather than an ETA. So the new scheme is modeled on the US electronic system for travel authorization, which has been in place since 2009. So there's been also a similar system that also exists in Canada. So the 27 European Union countries are planning to introduce their own version, the European Travel Information and Authorization System, next year. So in a policy paper published on Monday, the Home Office said it expects the process of processing ETA applications to be largely automated, with complex or adverse decisions taken by officials. So the Home Office had not confirmed how much an ETA application will cost, and the US scheme costs, though, it is $14, so that's around £9, and the Canadian one, it's around $7, and that's also somewhere around £4 as well. So elsewhere in her speech, Ms. Patel went on and repeated her pledge to introduce whole-scale reform to broken asylum systems. So she said the government plans unveiled in March would reduce incentives for people to come here illegally, therefore removing the opportunity for criminal gangs to profit. So the proposals, which include deeming inadmissible asylum applications from people who arrive in the UK, have gone through safe countries, have been condemned by refugee and rights groups. I mean, the whole point, there are some people, yes, they travel out of their country for months and months. They go on these boats, these dangerous rides, and they come into the UK illegally because they are seeking refuge. And, for them to be introducing something like this is, gonna actually bring up a lot of issues as well. Refugees are not going to be happy about it. Human rights groups are not going to be happy about it. And the Labour's Shadow Home Secretary Nick Thomas Simmons said the Home Secretary talks about a broken asylum system, but it's the Conservatives who have been in power for 11 years and are responsible for that. And he also added that the idea of e-borders have been around for a number of years, whilst the loss of data from police databases in January meant there are serious questions about the Home Secretary delivering this digital system. So Liberal Democrat Home Affairs spokesperson Alistair Carmichael said the government's existing plan to digitize borders was over budget, and accused Ms. Patel of taking tough whilst failing to, she's talking all this tough talk and she's failing to improve the UK's broken immigrations. And years of Home Office failure, coupled with hostile policies and rhetoric from successive Conservative Home Secretaries, have shattered public confidence. And this is what they are adding. And if you think about it, if you look at this from another perspective, it gets to the point where, if this is going to happen, if they are going to digitalize the borders, like I said, the government will have access to the information. But what if another party comes in? What if, a group of cyber attacks or something comes in? This is something the government also has to think through. It's not as easy as it sounds. And, when it comes to that, there's also the budget issue as well. It's going to be super expensive. And right now, I don't think the UK can afford that. What we should be focusing on at the moment, at least, is to get the vaccination rolled out as soon as possible. This is the major concern when it comes to health. Right now, what we have to do is focus on the health. The health sector is very important. This is something that we have to push forward with. This is what we have to uplift at the moment. Anyways, until, everything gets back, at least until everything gets to normal and there's not so much chaos and there's not people struggling, until all this is done, hopefully this is then when we can apply these, digital borders. But at the same time, we have to look like we're looking at the pros. There's a pros. We can watch whoever comes in and out, and we can deem whether they're not supposed to be here or whether they are supposed to be here. I mean, it comes to the matter. This comes under the discretion of the government. They can decide and they can, move forward with this. But at the same time, we have to understand there are going to be risks. There are going to be issues when it comes to regards to this. There are going to be information like people who want to come in here and they want to keep it on the privacy. What happens if somebody else finds out through a cyber attack? That is something also the government has to look into before they can start implementing this. I mean, you can say I will implement this and that, A, B, and C, but at the same time, you have to keep through and you have to understand that there are going to be consequences as well. And with that being said, we are going to be taking a quick break. Welcome back to Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys entertained, with what is going on. And, we're talking about a lot of pressing matters at hand. So the public should be worried, is what Wales chief medic is saying, especially when it comes to the topic of the COVID Indian variant. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, he went on to say that people should be worried about the resurgence of the COVID with an increase in cases of the Indian variant of concern. This is what the Welsh government's chief medical officer had to say. So, yeah, in case you guys are wondering, this is Real Talk, where we're trying to keep it real all way, every day. And yeah, in case you guys want to get in touch with us, you can always hit me up and let me know what your thoughts or concerns are on the numbers 07852 473 Those are the magic numbers. And also don't forget to download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Carry us all day, every day. And also you can check us out on social media. We are pretty big on Facebook. We're in Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. We're all on these big platforms. So make sure you guys get in with us, check us out, get hooked with us. And yeah, getting back to the matter at hand, though, people should be worried about this resurgent, is what the Welsh chief medical officer is saying at this current time. And he went on to say, Dr. Frank Atheron said the increase to around 57 cases were something we need to watch very, very carefully. And yeah, he went on to say that something that we need to watch carefully, and that the total last Thursday was 28 cases of the Indian variant of concern. So yeah, Health Minister Euluned Morgan repeated government advice that people should take holidays at home to reduce the risk. So if you're going to take a holiday, you take it at home. Don't try not to go out as much as possible, because we're trying to reduce the number of the virus spreading, especially when it comes to the spread of this virus. So yeah, Dr. Atherton said most cases of the variant of concern were in Cardiff and the Vale of Glamorgan, rather. And although they've been identified in all health broad areas apart from the Powys. So he went on and he said measured such as social distancing and using face coverings were the thing that keep us safe, and that there was a risk that the situation could go into reverse if those measures were going to be relaxed, is what he went on to say. He said if we don't follow through, we are going to be compromised, and that is something that they are trying to avoid as much as possible at this current time. So he went on to also additionally say that we should continue on the cautious approach here in Wales, as he told a lot of these journalists at a Welsh government update on the pandemic. And the public should be worried about the resurgence of the coronavirus in general, really. I mean, if you think about it, you should actually be concerned and worried, and not be traveling and going on holiday at this time. At least it's not safe. Although I get it, travel restrictions have eased up a little bit. So, you are going to get that urge, that little itch for you to travel is always going to be there. I get it. I understand. But at the same time, remember, you are going to affect the other people around you. So make sure you be careful with what you do, because your actions will affect the others. And what we're trying to right now accomplish, what we're trying to achieve, is get everyone in the country to reach the herd immunity, and not when we don't want these restrictions anymore. We want these restrictions out. We want lockdown out. We want to be able to get back to normal. But to do that, we have to be able, and we have to make sure we follow through with all of these guidelines that the government has issued. And he went on to say that this public resurgence in the coronavirus is really going to happen. And he said that we have a small number of cases, 57 at the moment, of the so-called Indian variant. This is what the chief medical officer at Wales is saying right now, and that there will be an underestimate, and he expects the numbers to actually rise. So yeah, Dr. Atherton said the cases in Wales were traceable back to a point of entry, so we are managing them as clusters. And he went on to additionally say that if we look across the border in England and certainly into Scotland, the Glasgow area, what seems to be happening there is widespread community transmission, and that's a much more difficult thing, of course, to contain. And unlike in Scotland, people in Wales are not being restricted from traveling to places in England with a huge number of cases of the Indian variant. And this is what Miss Morgan has said. However, she stressed the Welsh government will constantly keep the situation under review. So they're constantly going to look into this and make sure, that the spread is not It's not going to be out of control. And in her first press conference as health minister, Miss Morgan repeated the advice that people should take their holidays in Wales this year and only go abroad for essential travel. And if you think about it, stay in the country where you are at the moment. Stay home. Keep it local as much. If you can, try to keep it local. If you want to go to the mountains or to the hills, I mean, at least sacrifice for now, because it's because of this we want to keep down the number of the surge of the virus and the number of people getting infected and the number of cases. And we're trying to reduce the whole spread of this. And to do that, we have to make sure we follow through with what the government wants us to do. And she also went on to say, Miss Morgan said that our whole economy could come to a grinding standstill again if we were to let new variants take hold. And she also said that the Welsh government had a responsibility to stand by our own tourism sector and hospitality sector. And she says also that we live in a fantastically beautiful country, and I would encourage people to use the opportunity to holiday here in Wales and to support those sectors of the economy that had really suffered during the pandemic. I mean, it's great to see she's saying something like this. The health minister, she's trying to promote, local travel. Try to keep it local. Try to keep it in the country until at least everything is over. I mean, Wales is a huge country. It's a beautiful country. I mean, for people to want to travel internationally, I get it. You will always have that urge to travel abroad. But for the meantime, try to keep it inside the country. Try to stay home as much as possible. And for the people who do travel to these countries, I mean, they must have some kind of reason. People do have their reasons. It could be some family issue, or it could be any kind of issue. We don't really know until we get there. But at the same time, we have to also consider the fact of our actions, the consequences of our actions, how it's going to affect us, how it's going to affect the whole community. And to prevent that, we have to reduce the spread of this new variant. We got to nip it by the bud right now as much as we can, because this is the opportunity that we have. This is the time where we can do it. And if we don't do it now, it's just going to cause another massive spread. It's going to be a catastrophe. There is going to be chaos, and people are going to struggle. People are going to lose jobs. And this is a reality. I mean, it might sound, I sound doom and gloom all right here, but, this is people are not taking it serious as they should be. This is the gravity of the situation right now, where at least we're given that reform, like we are given that ease where the restrictions are going to ease up. We can't get back to traveling. We can't go back to going outside, but try to keep it in the country as much as possible, because we don't want another spread at the moment until we get the situation in control, until we get back, to the point where, we can get back to normal and everything, can get back to, the way it was is the matter right now. That is the focus. That's the primary. That should be our primary focus at the moment, at least. So the stats in the coronavirus, the coronavirus cases in Wales also, it's telling us that all of these different statistics tell us about the coronavirus, and all these statistics are showing that right now Wales is having not as much as we think. So most of the cases in Wales are with the people who have the COVID-19 symptoms rather. So we're reported they are showing in a lot of these places that compares a day at its peak right now. And it's just the start of April. At the start of April, there's so many cases where people are having, the number and rates of the virus was exponentially high, but now it's at a low. So Newport has the highest case rate in Wales now, just under 25 positive cases for every 100,000 people over the last week. So this is important to see, in context. It's been below the 50 cases per 100,000 threshold for more than 2 months. So there have been pockets of positive tests in areas of the city, but these are receding. So in Cardiff was also slightly raised, but is back to a single figure case for the first time since mid-August. So Carew East in the west of the city is the only local community in Wales above 100 cases per 100,000. But this too has fallen back with 10 cases in the past week. So Merthyr Tydfil is also at its lowest level since August, and a long way from its peak a week before Christmas, when it stood at 1,349 cases per 100,000 cases. So a loss of discipline was blamed by the health officials for a spike in March. So people were not, completely following the guidelines. So this is one of the reasons why there was a surge in the number of cases, especially in that area. So Powys and Gwynedd currently have the lowest weekly cases rate in Wales at just over 2 cases per 100,000 each, with 3 different positive COVID tests in total recorded in the past 7-day period. So yeah, the case rate in Brigham fell dramatically as well after it peaked in December, just before Wales was put into a pre-Christmas lockdown on the 20th of December. It was later plunged to the single figures and has remained low, along with the Rhondda, Connaught, Taff. So yeah, these are just some of the places that have this that the number of cases rather in Wales, and the people are like I said, there's a lot of relaxation in the country, and right now one of the concerns is the coronavirus variant, the Indian variant. So yeah, a total of 57 cases of the Indian variant of the concern have been detected so far in Wales, and this is all according to the Welsh government. So yeah, the official UK weekly total of 17 took the total number of the B16172 variant to 28 in Wales. So yeah, looking at all the figures of sequenced results so far, this would be around 14% of those analyzed from Wales. And yeah, it just shows the matter at hand, and the number of cases right now. There are still cases in the UK is what I'm trying to say. And the matter is that UK should try to keep it in, at least in Wales, at least what they're trying to do is try to keep it local as much as possible. So yeah, the chief medical officer for Wales revealed, that although there's been 29 cases of the variant, and it's been recently taking this total to 57%. So 57 cases right now. There's been 57 cases. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to avoid getting it into the 100 cases, and we're trying to do that as much as possible. Try to get the people vaccinated as quick as possible with all the effort that they're putting in. Hopefully this is something that can be achieved, because right now the government, even the NHS, are facing a backlog of cases. There's been a lot of these cases, and when it comes to the backlog of cases, there's been surgeries that have not been done for the past 3 years, and this is some of a matter of concern, and people are struggling. Cancer patients, people have normal surgeries, cataract surgeries, or it could even be hip surgeries. They are also at a backlog, and this is another struggle. So the NHS right now is trying to focus on this. So we don't need more cases in the country. What we're trying to do is trying to isolate it, try to get it reduced, trying to get it down to a point where we don't need and overburden the already overburdened NHS departments. So yeah, this is just some of the things that that we have to address as a country as a whole, as a matter of fact. And yeah, with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we will be right back after this. Welcome back to Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys company and talking about all the stuff that is happening across the world. And right now, taking a look at the things that is happening across the global market. Well, the global metal prices fall as China further warns against price hikes. So yeah, global prices for industrial metals have fallen after Chinese authorities warned commodity companies in the country over pushing up prices. So yeah, China's National Development and Reform Commission, the NDRC, urged the firms to maintain normal market orders. Yeah, that's right. And in case you guys are wondering who this is, my name is Nick. I'm keeping you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. We're talking about stuff that is going on across the globe. And in case you guys want to be a part of it, all you got to do is, it's simple. Hit us up on those numbers. It is 07852 473 473. Those are the magical numbers. And you can always check us out on our webpage on www.relaxradio.net. Or you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We're pretty much big on Facebook and Instagram. We have a lot of stuff, amazing content right there. So make sure to check us out. And don't forget to download. Also, while you're there, don't forget to download the Apple app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. We got our app. You can carry us along all day, every day, 365, 24/7. So yeah, getting back to the matter at hand, though, is the Chinese authorities right now, they are talking about all of this, and they urge, how they want the firms, all these firms, to maintain normal market orders. So yeah, the move comes after the metal price have surged recently in the recent months as major economies emerge from the pandemic. And this is just another part of this. And the price of metal, including 3-month copper and aluminum, were among those that were affected. And the Chinese government is taking action with regards to all of this, and they are trying to address these pressing matters at hand. And on the London Metal Exchange, a copper dropped by 1.6% to $9,881 per metric ton, while aluminium slipped by 1.09% to 2,370 per metric ton. So according to a report by state media outlets, and all of these, the Chinese companies in steel, iron, and aluminum were among those collectively summoned on Sunday for all of these interviews. So as quoted by a statement by the NDRC saying the meeting was held due to the continuous and drastic increase of a handful of these commodities. So especially when it comes to steel and all of that, how it's essential for a lot of these, companies and all of that building constructions. It just goes to show that because of this price hike, the government has been warning them about it, to get it back to normal prices. And China has earlier, last week already announced that it would step up measures around commodity supply, saying it would curb unreasonable prices. So all of this, is just in a fight because there's always going to be that thing, where just because people came out of pandemic, the prices are gonna hike. There's always going to be a surge in prices, and this is just another fact why China is trying to fight and address this issue in their own country. And commodity traders are also cautious, after the whole White House said on Friday that it had cut back its infrastructure bill from 2.25 trillion to 1.7 trillion. So with the cuts to the spending plan being in broadband, roads, and bridges, demand for iron core and copper could be curbed. So the U.S. Republicans dismissed the changes as insufficient for a deal, which could also mean that the further cuts to the proposed investments are imminent. This is something that is bound to happen. So global prices for many of these raw materials needed for industries, including copper, coal, steel, and iron ore, have risen sharply this year, during the whole lockdown, and other measures to curb the spread of the COVID-19 had been eased. So huge economies, so all of this economic stimulus measures by the government and central banks across the world have also driven up demand for all of these commodities. So China, which was also known as the world's factory, is the biggest user of raw materials globally. And in April, the country's exports unexpectedly surged as America And, their speedy recovery from the pandemic helps the spur demand. So stalled factory productions in India as the country struggles with the coronavirus crisis also help boost the economic and the global market for Chinese goods. So yeah, China exports in dollar terms surged by more than 32% from a year earlier to almost $264 billion. So in the same month, imports also grew at the fastest pace in more than a decade, rising by 43% from a year ago. ago. So it looks like, China is having quite a year, actually. They're having a lot of these supplies as well, but at the same time they are talking about how they need to curb these unusual prices, these crazy exorbitant amounts of money that people are spending for these items, commodities, especially when it comes to commodities right now in the world. So it's just, a matter of time. This was bound to happen. This was bound for the Chinese government to, take notice of this issue and start addressing it. And yeah, talking about all these things also, right now the UK is going crazy at the moment. There's a lot of these things that people want to go on holidays, of where they want to travel and where they can go with and with who. Well, limits on where you can stay and with who have been relaxed significantly, but some rules still apply. So where can you travel in the UK? Well, you can travel between England, Scotland, and Wales, and from the 24th of May, Northern Ireland as well. So yeah, today you guys can actually go to Northern Ireland. So anyone planning to visit a Scottish island is encouraged to take 2 lateral flow tests beforehand, though, priorly before traveling to those countries. And people are advised, not to travel anywhere from Scotland to Bedford, Bolton, Blackburn, and Darwin. And this is all due to the concerns regarding the Indian variant. And yeah, this is just another matter, that they're trying to curb all of the number of surges of cases in these particular areas. So yeah, to do that, this is just some of the things that they have started to implement. And yeah, it's just a matter of time, for the government to even start this. It's great to see that, right now they're advising us, telling us not to go to these specific areas, to avoid these areas as much as possible. So yeah, the rules vary around the UK. Well, in England, all holiday accommodations, including hotels, hostels, B&Bs, caravans, and boats, can reopen. That's right. So all of these people who want to go, who want to enjoy in the UK, and who are trying to get the most benefit out of this whole relaxation, well, these are the things you can do at the moment. So if you want to go on a boat ride, well, feel free to do it. You have the liberty to do that now, with the situation easing up in England. And yeah, other things, with other concerns, though, when it comes to 6 people from multiple households, or any number from any 2 households, can stay together. So yeah, you guys can, if you want to have a sleepover, you want to visit your friend, hey, you can still do it. And you can stay overnight in a private home, subject to the rule of 6, though. So as long as it applies to the rule of 6, you can always stay at a private home as well. So the lockdown is easing up right now, and the rules in England are essentially people can meet up in groups of up to 30 outdoors. And pubs, restaurant, bars, cafes are allowed to serve customer indoors as well. Museum, theaters, and cinemas can reopen. So adult indoor group exercise classes can also restart, and people urged to be cautious about hugging close friends and family. So the situation in Wales, though, is a little different. So in Wales, all the holiday accommodations can reopen fully, but you can only share holiday accommodation with the people you live with in your household or your extended household. So communal areas of campsites and caravan parks can open, subject to measures to ensure physical distancing and appropriate cleaning. And you must not meet anyone or stay overnight in a private home who is not in your household or extended household. So the rules are a little bit more stricter in comparison to the people in England. When it comes to Wales, their relaxation is not quite there yet. They are getting there, though, with the situation. Hopefully they can achieve that. And in Scotland, most of the mainland Scotland is now in COVID protection level 2. So yeah, Scottish islands, with the exception of Skye, have moved down to level 1. So these areas, hotels, B&Bs, self-care catering, caravans, and campsites can reopen, and 6 people from 3 households can share self-catering accommodation. And you can't still, though, share a hotel room with someone you don't live with, or your social bubble with. And people in Glasgow City, though, is still in level 3. That's unfortunate because of the high levels of infection there. When it comes to the Indian variant, Glasgow has seen a lot of these surges. And yeah, hotels, B&Bs, self-catering, caravans, and campsites can open, and members of different households cannot mix indoors. So you cannot share a private dwelling or a holiday accommodation with people you don't live with. And you must not, I repeat, you must not travel to or from a third level area for your holiday, because that is not a great idea. That is a very bad no. You're not supposed to do that, because if you do that, what is going to happen is the cases will surge, and a surge in cases will be then imminent. And so yeah, we're trying as much as we can to keep it on the low. So in Northern Ireland, taking a look at them, all of the holiday accommodations can open, and up to 6 people from 2 households can stay together overnight, and children aged between 12 and under are not counted as an individual. So when you look at the situation like that, when can you go on a holiday abroad? Well, foreign holidays are allowed again, but the government says people should only travel to destinations on its amber list in exceptional circumstances. So if you're going to be traveling to these amber state places in the world, well, you better make sure you have an exceptional reason. So countries have been categorized as amber, red, or green to reflect their COVID risk, with different rules for each of these particular countries and their states and their policies. So when will all the rest of these restrictions be completely eased? Like I said, the plan is to keep all of this on board until the 21st of June. So England won't move up to step 4 of the government's roadmap until 21st of June. So then, that's by then, hopefully everyone will get vaccinated in the country. Everyone will have their vaccination, so we can reach the point of herd immunity. Then it's hope, that all of these legal limits on social contact will be removed, and a review of the social distancing and other measures must report first. So Scotland hopes to remove, the rest of the country to COVID protection level 1 from the 7th of June, and then level 0 from late June. So COVID rules in Wales are due to be reviewed next week in the first week of June, and in Northern Ireland on the 10th of June. So the plan, like I said, is to get everyone, the whole of UK, to get them on to the point where, we can return back to normalcy and get the country out of this whole lockdown period. I mean, the situation right now with all the easing up, people are jittery. They want to get out of the country. They want to, travel. They want to see the world. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we think of the other people as well. We have to be accountable for the things that we do in our own respect, in our own regards. So to do that right now, like I said, when you look at cases in Glasgow, when you look at cases in Bolton, in the Greater Manchester area, and these places still have an enormous, right now the cases are rising. There is a surge of the virus, so we have to make sure we try to follow at least until the 21st of June. Hopefully, everyone can get vaccinated by then, and most of the individuals in the United Kingdom are vaccinated, so then we can hopefully curb all of this situation. Let's see how it goes, keeping our fingers crossed. And with that being said, we're going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. welcome to the show. This is Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. We were talking about all the situation, in the UK and in Wales in general. So right now, shoppers though, our numbers still almost 30% below the pre-pandemic levels. So at the moment, with the easing of the restrictions, there's still a low when it comes to shoppers. Coming out, it's still 30% of pre-pandemic levels. I mean, what is it's something that you can expect right now. The situation is not yet completely lax. There are people who are still afraid to go outdoors to do the shopping that they need to do at the moment, at least until the situation looks a little bit brighter. So yeah, in case you guys are wondering, my name is Nick. I'm giving you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. On Real Talk. And yeah, we'll be addressing all of these things, as we go along in the show. In case you guys want to be a part of it, all you got to do is simply hit me up on those numbers. It is 07852 473 473. That's right. You can always feel free to hit me up on those numbers. And also don't forget to download the app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Carry us all day, every day. And with that, getting back to the matter at hand, the issue is, how the UK at the moment is starting to get to that level, but they're still at pre-pandemic levels. It is essentially 30%. So shoppers, staged a caution return to the high street last week as lockdown curbs eased further, but numbers were still far below the pre-pandemic levels. So footfall across all of the UK shopping destinations was just up to 1.1% of on the week-on-week analysis. This is what the Springboard has said. However, it remained at 28.7% lower than for the same period in 2019. So yes, Springboard's inside director, Deanne Wirral, said that there was a significant ground to be made up as retailers emerge from the coronavirus crisis. And bricks and mortar retailers could take their heart from the fact that evenings saw a big influx of shoppers, with figures after essentially 1700 notably healthier than during the day. So all these non-essential shops in England were allowed to reopen on the 12th of April under the government's roadmap to reopening. And last Monday, 17th of May, saw a significant further easing of the restrictions in England, with restaurants and pubs allowed to serve customers indoors again. And yeah, that is a great boon right there. People are happy about it. They are super excited and super glad that they are out and about again. But even though the people are going back out to the streets and they are doing their purchases, at the same time, we have to stress the fact that a lot of people are still concerned and are afraid of the possibility of getting the virus and spreading it. People are still cautious about it, and they are trying to make sure that they can stay indoors until the situation at least subsides. They are waiting until the hopeful reduction of the number of cases, and once the situation does get better, we can expect to see more of a rise in that situation. So there was a huge hope that this loosening would lure many more people back to shopping areas, but both High Street, which is just up by 2.5%, and shopping centers, which is up by 1.1%, saw only a modest week-on-week rise in footfall in the week beginning of 16th of May. And this is what the Springboard has said. So in retail parks, meanwhile, footfall dipped by 1.7%. So yeah, footfall increased across the majority of the towns of types, ranging from 2.3% in coastal towns to 11.8% in central London. This is what the Springboard said about the week-on-week figures. However, in more local high streets, footfall declined as consumers gravitated towards larger destinations, which have a more substantial dining offer. And this is just the big losers of all this, though, were retail parks, which saw a 1.7% decline in footfall compared with the previous week, while high streets and shopping centers attracted more people. Even so, Springboard said retail parks remained the most resilient of the three destination types, faring less badly relative to the 2019 than the others. So in comparison, the places, retail parks are, some of the places that are the sturdiest at the moment, and they are, they're able to pull through all of these issues. Is in the regards, when you check on the matters, yeah, there are still less and less shoppers going out. Like I said, they're trying to be more cautious about the situation, and they are trying to uh a lot of this, they're trying to, avoid a lot of the um, spread of the vaccine, the virus rather. They're trying their best, to avoid the spread of the virus on these level cases. And there's a number of cases. So this just, just some of the things that is going on in the UK. And yeah, all of this, one of the things is also indoor hospitality and household visits are resuming again across Northern Ireland. So yeah, the introduction of all of this is also going on right now. And yeah, looking at the restaurants, cafe, bars, and other hospitality venues in Northern Ireland can operate indoors from Monday in another sign of return to normality as COVID-19 restrictions were eased further. So yeah, 6 people from 2 households can now meet indoors, and this is in Northern Ireland. So non-essential travel is also allowed to the rest of the UK, and a traffic light system will be in place for foreign travel. So yeah, the measures were agreed by ministers last week, and yeah, 12 countries are on the Northern Ireland so-called green list for foreign travel, including Portugal. So yeah, people going down to countries that appear on the green list do not need to quarantine on their return. But those returning from the likes of Portugal will be asked to take a PCR test after they arrive home. So although you don't have to necessarily undergo a whole situation with a quarantine situation, self-isolation situation, you will still be required to get 2 lateral flow tests. And yeah, both of these, returning from Portugal or these green list countries, you're still supposed to undergo these tests. So England, Scotland, and Wales have already implemented similar systems, with the first travelers heading off on holiday last week. And yeah, if returning from a country on the UK's red list, passengers must book and enter hotel quarantine. And non-essential travel from Northern Ireland to other parts of the Common Travel Area, the CTA, the UK Republic of Ireland, the Channel Islands, and the island of Man, is now allowed, and people will not be required to isolate on return if they visited family or friends in other parts of the area. So yeah, this is just, some of the things that, like we discussed earlier, these are just some of the things, that is happening right now in Northern Ireland. So at last Thursday's there's a lot of these that happened, at last Thursday's meetings as well. Ministers also backed the reopening of hotels and beaches from Monday, and the attendance of spectators at outdoor sport events went up to 500, may be even permitted. So yeah, the capacity down, though. Pubs and restaurants are now allowed to trade indoors with a maximum of 6 people per table from a maximum of 6 households, or up to 10 people, provided they're all from the same household. So yeah, owners of these Harbor Cafe, they are talking about how they're ready to open up and reduce the seating capacity from 40% to 20. So this is just, something that they are doing. They are trying to implement sanitizers, distancing. They're trying to track the people, the trace in place, and they want to see just how much they can go and how far a lot of these stores and, local businesses and small time shops are, going to push through. They also added that business would still need financial help. And yeah, landlords are still looking for rent, and there are still wages to be paid and overheads which haven't decreased in prices. And yeah, these are just, the issues and the matters at hand though right now. And caution and people are being more cautious and careful, overall with like I said, with the whole pandemic situation going on. And businesses are like, the economy minister, Deanne Dodds, said the continued easing of restrictions was a huge step forward for Northern Ireland's economy. So their businesses are looking forward to reopening, but they are also responsible, very responsible, and it's also about doing things safely and making sure they don't take any steps backward. And this is what they say. And Mrs. Dodds also said the Northern Ireland tourism would be launched in the Republic of Ireland and Great Britain. So yeah, First Minister Arlene Foster and Deputy Minister Michelle O'Neill welcomed moves, but urged people to remain cautious and careful given the prevalence, particularly in Great Britain because of the so-called Indian variant of the virus. So yeah, that these are areas that are specifically the Bolton areas, and all these areas that have been affected are supposed to be going through this. So First Minister, like I said, they spoke about this and they're welcoming all of these moves, but urge people to remain cautious and very, very careful. So other measures, though, such as easing from Monday, including the increased numbers permitted for indoor gatherings, not including domestic settings, to allow for community events such as mother and toddler groups to resume. So National Trust houses and other properties in Northern Ireland are reopening their doors to visitors from Monday onwards. So yeah, people are happy, they can get out again, and they're reopening all of the basically Northern Ireland as well. So some place and some small properties or places which cannot accommodate social distancing will reopen later once COVID restrictions are lifted, or when repair or redisplay work is completed. And this is what the National Trust has gone on to say. So up to 1,000 fans were allowed to attend Friday's Irish Cup final at Mornview Park in Lurgan. Yeah, this is the county of Armagh. So spectators will not be allowed back for the Derry City's game against St. Patrick's Athletics on Monday night, though. So the decision was taken after discussion with the public health officials, and they based on the current high rates of the COVID-19 transmission in the city. They said that this is something that they needed to do, and this is all according to the statement on the club's website. So people in England, Scotland, and Wales have also been allowed to meet in each other's homes and enjoy indoor hospitality since last Monday. That's right, And like I said, the situation is getting better and better. But I mean, there are still places like in Scotland, like Glasgow, for instance, and then we have places also in Wales that have at least 57%, and this is in Newport area. So these are just some of the places right now that are undergoing the surge. Rather, they're seeing a significant rise rather, in cases of the Indian variant, that is the COVID-19 Indian variant. And hopefully, with time passing by, this is something that they can come forward and make sure they can put a halt into all of these things, because like I said, we don't want to get back into another lockdown. We're trying as much as we can. We are trying as a community to avoid all of that. But yeah, people in Northern Ireland look like they're going to have at least a little bit of freedom now in comparison to when it was in the lockdown back in November. This is with the relaxing of these measures, there still has to be caution. There has to be care as well. People have to still be careful. I mean, you can still travel, like I said, in Northern Ireland as well. You can travel foreign countries, including places like Portugal, but you have to make sure you will have to undergo a lot of these lateral flow tests, and upon return, but you will not be isolated. You won't have to go under self-isolation. You won't have to go under quarantine as well. This is something you can avoid, and this is great news actually for the people in Northern Ireland. They can finally breathe again, and they can go indoors and have maybe a pint or two. This is something that a lot of people also have been looking forward to. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully this issue will resolve and we can get the whole country, like I said, vaccinated. This is just the end game of it. Let's see what it goes. Let's see what happens. But with that being said, we're going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio. Yeah, we had a little bit of a glitch back there, but hey, don't worry. I'll be keeping you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. We're in the final leg of the show. We're talking about all this interesting stuff that is happening right now in the UK. And in case you guys have any opinions or any thoughts on the matter, well, feel free to call me up. The numbers. It is 07852 473 473. You guys can always hit me up, WhatsApp me. Let me know what your thoughts are on that matter. And also don't forget to follow us on Twitter, from and follow us with our latest tweets. We have a lot of stuff that is going on and we try to keep it up to date as much as possible. And also don't forget, we are on social media. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel and TikTok videos as well. So what are you guys waiting for? And with that being said, getting right back to it, the issue at hand right now is the UK right now is having a struggle. The struggle is that we want to get and achieve the global the net zero emissions with the situation, with the rising situation and rising climate change. Well, local leaders in England demand more power. I mean, is that the topic, the headline right there, saying it out loud like that does make it feel a little weird. It feels like it's a little bit of an agenda base. I mean, if you think about it, what is not having an agenda? What does not hold an agenda? Obviously, there's going to be, there's going to be remarks like this where there's going to be agenda and people will have their own, thoughts on that matter. But, like I said, they are asking for more power, these local authorities. And the UK will struggle to reach its climate targets unless more power and money is put into local hands, says a group of metro mayors and council leaders. Well, influential figures have written to the Prime Minister calling for further and faster action to protect the environment. And they say the pandemic has shown that local leaders can actually get things done. And the government and council mayors have a pivotal role in reducing carbon emissions. So Labour leaders Andy Byrne said that the mayor of Greater Manchester, Steve Rotherham, the Metro Mayor of Liverpool, and the Conservative leaders in Hampshire and Leicester are among the signatories. So they say without a locally led approach, the UK will struggle to reach its world-leading climate change targets. So ministers have committed to cutting carbon emissions by 78% by 2035 compared to 1990 levels, and to become carbon neutral, or at least something that they call the net zero by 2050. And they will involve things like switching homes and businesses to sustainable energy sources, more use of public transport, and encouraging the use of these electric cars and better insulating homes. So speaking about all of this, the leader of Leeds City Council, James Lewis, said, as we rebuild and revive our community, it is vital that we use this opportunity to deliver the changes necessary to tackle the climate emergency at pace and create millions of good quality jobs in the process. So Leeds residents want to see a green recovery, and we are committed to maximizing the city's potential for green jobs. However, to truly deliver the ambition of a green industrial revolution, then local and regional authorities need to be part of the solution. So in this letter, the mayors, essentially what they were talking about is the way the local authorities have managed the whole COVID pandemic, and they say that this is, how they demonstrate they have demonstrated the capability rather of taking the challenge that might otherwise be, run by central government alone. So they are saying what they want to do is they want to take that burden off of their hands, and they want to make sure that the government is not the sole body authority that has to struggle with all of these issues, and the local governments, local mayors can help as well. And all of this, they were talking about, they want to see this getting faster. They want to see the government go further and faster and recognize how local and regional governments is the key to the shared goal of achieving this net zero. However, the letter warns that central government must provide the money to allow local authorities to deliver. And, they say that we believe you need to provide the resources and powers to play our part in retrofitting our homes, reimagine how we can travel, and ensure that a locally generated sustainable energy can provide the transition. And they also add that local authorities should be given the power to push through changes needed to meet the net zero targets. So what they're trying to say is give us more power, give us more money, and then we can show you what we can do and we can achieve that goal together, is what these local ministers are talking about. And they are saying all of these, these things that sound good on paper, but then we don't really know what exactly the whole situation could entail, with what they are doing. And hopefully this is something that they are trying to address at the moment, is what I'm trying to say. And hopefully this is what they can do as they go by. And yeah, in December, the National Audit Office, which scrutinizes public spending for the parliament, said it believed the most efficient and cost effective way of meeting the UK's climate change target is to give local leaders a bigger role. And that's right. You have to make sure, the local government as well, they also need some kind of power. I'm not quite sure how much, but I can say for a fact that they also need to be involved. They are the first line of defense, essentially the first line of people you need to associate with, you need to address as well when you want to talk about the local government, when you want to talk about a particular area. They are the people that have the most power, more influence. They need more influence, they need more power, is what they're trying to say. And yeah, in this report, they did say that local authorities will be the key in achieving most of these emission reductions in the transport and housing sectors locally, where the decarbonization challenge will vary by location. But government representatives have spoken to the idea and have said that there is a lack of clarity from these the local governments, and they say that local authorities should pay and they should play in achieving. They're not quite sure what they can do. They lack clarity from the central government on the roles of all these local authorities and how they can achieve these net zero targets for them. And yeah, looking at all of these things, the local government representatives have spoken to all of these things. And the UK right now, the group UK 100, a network of locally elected leaders committed to achieving the net zero in their local areas, coordinated the letter, and it agrees that the more power must be put in local hands, but says the government has yet to provide local leaders with the power and resources to really deliver, amounting to a system that is currently structurally incapable of delivering the net zero emission plan. And yeah, there's a lot of debates, especially with the matter at hand. They're talking address and move on. Looking at, like I said, looking at all these situations and all of the problems, it agrees that the more power it must be put into local hands to see some kind of, the more power you put into local hands, you can see the more of the, what do you call that? The more results, rather, you can see when it comes to these kind of matters. So yeah, the database about how to deliver the government's climate change target comes as the UK prepares to host the COP26 climate change conference in Glasgow on hopefully by the time the end of the year comes by. So yeah, a government spokesperson said it is heartening to see councillors and expressing their desire, to help bring back the green industrial revolution. And there are officials in the government that are really happy about this whole move, and that the local authorities also are taking on a huge step towards this, and they are trying to make this possible as well. And they say that the Prime Minister's 10-point plan will mobilize £12 billion of government investment to create and support up to 250,000 highly skilled green jobs in the UK, and spur over 3 times as much private sector investment by 2030. So yeah, the letter comes as the government announces £166.5 million for green technology development, such as the carbon capture and greenhouse gas removal. And businesses and academics will be among the recipients of this money. So Tate and Lille in London will receive over 500,000 to study how it can decarbonize its sugar refinery, while Scotland's Rural College and the University of Strathclyde will get more than £200,000 to investigate methods of reducing the environmental impact of beef production. Yeah, this is what they are trying to do overall. The whole point, like I said, is to get this going, to get the ball going. And the more the local authorities have power, the more they are able to combat this, and they will be able to move forward from this, is the matter at hand. And yeah, like I said, looking at the things, hopefully this is what the local powers are saying. They're saying our influences also stretch in the government as well when it comes to locally people, when it comes to housing, when it comes to these kind of matters at hand. This is where we can take charge and we can help the government who is doing this all alone. The central government is pushing through all of this alone, and they're saying, we can also play a big part in all of this. Although a lot of some of the government officials as well don't really see the point in getting the local authorities involved, but they do say that they can help reach this zero emission net emissions. So these ministers rather have committed to cutting down the emissions by 78% by 2035 compared to the 1990 levels, and to become carbon neutral at least and that is the net zero by 2050. So yeah, that's going to be involving a lot of these things. Like I said, it's going to involve switching homes, businesses to all of these sustainable energy sources. There are going to be more use of public transport, less of your own vehicles, and encouraging the use of these electric cars, and better insulating homes. So these are just some of the things that they're willing to transition and they'll need to work on to get the country into net emissions, is what I'm trying to say. And hopefully that will be the case as the COP26 comes around, where where it's going to be happening in Glasgow. And yeah, this is just something that they will be talking about, how the methods and the procedures and the policies that they can use to be to implement in the country to make sure that we reach those targets, we reach that net zero goal at the moment. Because right now, at the moment, it does look a little bleak, but the country is making sure to make a step forward. And when it comes to matters like this, when it comes to regarding these kind of matters, hopefully the government can push through and fulfill their promise of a net zero by the time 2050 hits. And with that being said, it is about that time of the day for me to head on out of here. But don't worry, I'll be catching you guys again tomorrow, the same time, same place, right here at Relaks Radio, RELAKS. Make sure to guys tune in. And until then, I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace and much love.